What's going on? Don't you let it. Oh, show on stream. Ha 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 ha. Here we go. Show on stream. There we go. What is going on? Okay. Don't you love it when? Don't you love it when I've got 11 people watching? Hang on a second. There we go. There I am. I just had to push the right buttons. Don't you know it? It's always weird when you're recording in two places. If you are new here, I'm Lori Rivers. I've been an astrologer for 3 decades, and I am recording the Awake Space Astrology podcast, episode 13. It is a wild week. It is a wild week. And do I look tired? Yes, I look tired because I am tired. We are going through a very historic week. Oh, we've got the chat going here on the Patreon live stream. Here's what's going to happen. I don't know why this is doing this. Good to see you guys. Good to see you guys. I don't know. There we go. Okay. There we go. So we've got a wild week ahead. I'm going to be recording the podcast. In between, I'm going to be answering patron questions. As you know, I record in sections and then I take a break. If only the live stream had filters like TikTok does, then you would not see, oh my God, she's as tired as she said. My eyes are like dark circles. I didn't want to put on makeup. It's too late for that. But I want to really get this episode out early in the morning. So I've already recorded the Astro Chats segment, which is this week is with Casey Felton Louie, who is an amazing astrologer. And even if I do say so myself, because I trained her, right? I trained her. So she's got a lot of insights, and I think you're gonna like what she's been up to lately. We will be talking about that big old new moon. The equinox is tomorrow. Mhm. And as my grandfather used to say, beware the equinox. Don't take your boat out on the water because the ocean is a fickle mistress. And I think we're going to see some wild weather because the moon is in Pisces, and it's going to be well into it. It'll be at about 18 degrees of Pisces as the sun clicks on over to Aries. And so I think we're going to see some big old stormy weather. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the new moon, but I already talked about it on episode 9. I already talked about it. If you haven't listened to the podcast, you need to go do it. Okay. I'll talk a little bit more about that. I just find it really interesting that that's the day that Trump's supposed to be arrested. We'll see. It wouldn't surprise me. And in fact, it's kind of funny. We were talking about it in the Discord, and somebody was like, hey, I think it'll be like the 23rd. And I was like, maybe more like the 21st. And that was before they announced it. And then sure enough, and it was just that new moon energy is just really supercharged because it's at 0 degrees, 49 minutes of Aries. Think of like the strawberry that started the Big Bang. It just holds so much potential energy. Things could go any which way. And then I heard, like, TikTok is so informative. I heard another thing that's happening on the 25th of March, which is the day Mars goes into Cancer. And that's what I was originally going to talk about. The whole episode was about Mars moving into Cancer because that's a big energy change. So we start the week with the equinox. The next day is the new moon. The 22nd is just kind of a shit show. 23rd, we have, not only is the moon still in Aries, right after Pluto goes into Aquarius, the moon will be moving into the late degrees of Aries, kicking over. I fully expect shenanigans that day. Then when the moon pops into Taurus, it'll be in a direct square with Pluto, which is very volatile energy. And so I think we'll see shenanigans. What else is new? I'll talk a little bit about the TikTok CEO's testimony. and what I think about that chart, because we have a time. They're supposed to be testifying at the public hearing at 11 a.m. Eastern. And poof, that chart packs a wallop. So I'll talk about that on the podcast as well. So I'm going to get started. I'm just going to record the intro to the podcast. And then I'm going to probably take a quick break, have a sip of water, and then I'll move quickly. I'm not necessarily gonna answer a ton of questions in that moment, but then I'm going to record the second segment, and that's where I'm gonna talk a little bit about Tuesday, well, actually Monday and Tuesday, a little bit about Wednesday. But again, I did a whole podcast episode on that already, but we're gonna add in what we know now because I told you guys it was gonna be a historic week. I told you guys last year, right? Right. I mean, why else did I do a year ahead seminar back in June of 22? Right? Yeah. And if you didn't see that video I put up on TikTok, I did a little screenshot of the patron only podcast I did June 12th of 2022. Before anybody thought anything, when everybody was still like, oh no, there's not going to be any consequences. I was like, dude's going to be charged by March 2023. Do you know how nerve wracking that is? That's like crazy sauce. It is so, I will not lie. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing this. When you give a projection and you stick to a prediction, it's nerve wracking because you're going, you're waiting. You're like, okay, it's March 18th. I know I said what I said, but is it going to happen? So yeah, that's a little wild. So we'll see what happens. I don't know why I cannot see. Oh, skip. Okay, that's why. I had like an interface issue. But anyway, I see all the chatty Cathys. Hey, Shelby. I see you, Rita, Tina. Welcome. I got 2 Ritas and Allison, Shelby's, Kendra, Casey J. Cal, Katie, Mujen. Hey, 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 hey. I see you. All right, let's get going. Let's get rolling. All right, I have so many softwares running right now. I got to get to the recording software here. Hang on a second. Just going to move this mic over a little bit and meet Mike. Mike, meet the audience. Here we go. All right. I'm trying to find. I had it open. There we go. Okay. Welcome to the Awake Space Astrology Podcast. I'm Lori Rivers with you, here to help you with some inspiration to get those aspirations out into the world. This is episode 13, and it's apt for the week we're about to walk into. I'm not gonna lie. This is a week of shenanigans, my friends. We start Monday with the equinox. Tuesday's the new moon in Aries, and it is a wild chart. And then we move through Wednesday, which will be highly volatile. And then the 23rd, of course, is the historic moment that Pluto enters Aquarius. And of course, everybody's been hyping that up. I've already done multiple episodes talking about what I think is going to happen at this time period, but we've got more information. We know there's certain events. And the one thing I really wanted to talk about that I don't see other astrologers talking about right now because everybody's so distracted with Pluto, um, not understanding that it is a wide evolutionary energy, but Mars ingresses into Cancer on the 25th. And ye old orange one is going to hold a rally in, just wait for it, Waco, Texas, to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the debacle of Waco, Texas, of the Branch Davidian cult. Now, if you're young and you don't know what that is, go look it up. But guess where Saturn was 30 years ago? at that point in time. Pisces. So, yeah. 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 Yeah, between Aquarius and Pisces, and it was just such a very volatile time. So, of course, he's being the opportunist he is. So, we're gonna talk a little bit about Trumpty Dumpty. I'm gonna save the really good stuff for patrons because, if I'm gonna get trolled, I'm gonna get paid. That's just the way I roll. I'm a Cancer, and remember, Cancers are a financial sign. Um, so I'm also going to give you some of the lowdown on how you can deal with this new moon. We're going to do a segment on the new moon. I'm going to keep it as short as I can because there's so much information in this episode. It could go like 3 hours, and I'm opposed to that on principle. I know you have a life, and there's only so much laundry I can help you with. And as we know, I go on your commute. I help you fold laundry. I help you do the dishes. And hopefully, I help bring some calm to some stormy seas. And it is indeed stormy weather this week. And we'll get through it. We'll get through it together. So, this and more, including the patron shout outs here on the Awake Space. Okay. So that's the introduction, my friends. That's the introductions. Whew, it's going to be bananas. It's just going to be bananas. So, all right. Let me grab while that's rendering. And I've got multiple devices in use. So let's go back. There we go. Okay. We're going to slide that over. And we're going to go back to the recording. All right. I know you all want to know about Trumpty Dumpty. That information, the fact that he's being supposedly arrested, we'll see what happens. We've got really volatile stuff going on. I don't think they're going to cancel the indictment at all, but we'll see what happens. If you remember from my patron only podcast, and if you're a patron, you have access to that. It's the pinned post in Patreon. I have requested that Patreon allow us to pin more than one post because I have multiple podcast episodes for you guys in there that I've made over the last year or so. And I'll make another kind of refresh on what I think is going to happen, what has come up and says. But I talked about it in that episode as well. So if you're a patron, just check the pin post. It's all there. I recorded it on June 12th of 2022. And I said I was convinced he'd be charged by March of 2023. And I was mostly looking at this week. Less so the Pluto and Aquarius transit, and more the new moon and Mars moving into Cancer as well. There's a bunch of stuff going on, including Uranus and Taurus is shaking up its ninth house. So it's going to be very, very volatile. And one of the things that gets me this week, beyond the equinox, which you can listen to episode 9 for that, beyond the new moon, okay, I think 8, 9, and 10 are the episodes you want to listen to for those. 11, I think I talked about Saturn and Pisces. When we get out of the new moon, and I'll do a segment on the new moon so you know how to set your intentions, okay? Don't think I haven't forgot you. But when we get through this week politically, what has me nervous more than Pluto moving into Aquarius, okay, more than the TikTok CEO, okay, it is the calls for violence, because there's a signature that is very similar from January 6th to as on March 23rd, and that is the moon will be squaring off with Pluto both before it ingresses into Aquarius and then after, because the moon will be in the last degrees of Aries, and then it kicks in at 0 degrees Taurus. It's in a direct square with Pluto. That is always volatile energy. There is always something that happens that time of the month. If you look at headlines and you go look at when was the moon square Pluto, you will see accidents, explosions, violence of some kind, natural events. There's always something when the moon is making a conjunction, a square, or an opposition to Pluto. And if there's other planets involved, that makes it a little hinky as well. But this is such a volatile time, and people are so on edge. And we've got, Mars in the late degrees of Gemini, and some astrologers really focus on out of bounds because the planet is out of the reach of the sun, and so it's kind of doing its own thing metaphorically. It's running rampant, and Gemini energy isn't just the clapback or quick-wittedness, quick verbal defense. It could be stabby, stabby, cut. And this could be very, very interesting. We could see people doing really stupid things, attempts at violence. I think it's going to be every bit as poorly executed as anything else, but it doesn't mean there won't be violence. And so that's something I want you guys to pay attention to. If you're in and around any of those areas, that are going to be fraught. I mean, some people are like, "Oh, it's going to happen everywhere." If you live in buttfuck nowhere, no, it's not going to happen where you live. If you live in a village, probably not. You might have some cosplayers out. I would be more concerned about city centers, state capitals, that kind of thing. And I think we're going to have other things happen as well. Some of this is, the attention and the optics. It's not that it isn't important. It is, but there's other things going on as well. There's climate change happening. There's economic change happening. And I'm all for consequences. I think consequences are great, both positive and negative when deserved. Um, but I think there's also other things going on that we need to pay attention to. And whenever the news, whatever channel it gets really, really focused on one subject, it's to the exclusion of many, many others. And so it's so important for each of you to kind of draw your energy in as much as possible. Check in with the news, but don't be glued to it. Don't listen to the same sound bites. When you start seeing everybody comment the same kind of comment on videos, somebody gives a good soundbite and everybody repeats it. That's where things get dangerous because that's groupthink, and we need to be very mindful of that. We've got a lot of energy still in Pisces, even after the equinox on Monday. Okay, Monday the 20th. We have to be very, very mindful of propaganda, of disinformation, misinformation, and distractions on a Monday in Lemuel. Okay. You want to ground in. You want to ground in and find ways to soothe your nervous system. Don't let people get you all worked up because that distracts you from your own stability and sustainability. Okay. So will he go to jail? I keep getting asked that question. Will he go to jail? Well, I think he will be found guilty. I am not convinced he spends a whole lot of time behind bars. And if you're a patron, you know why I think that. I'd like to remind you of his age. That is all I'm going to say. I'm not wishing anything. I think he'll try to avoid going by all costs, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll see if he has the longevity to do it. Something else I think might happen on the 21st. Sorry, on the 23rd, my bad. The moment President Biden, he has a 0-degree Taurus moon. So when he has his lunar return, of course, he has Pluto squaring off with that. And we may see a health crisis or something going on that kind of puts him out of commission for a minute. No, I do not see him necessarily keeling over. I don't. But he might have a health crisis. So keep your eye out on that. I feel about 40% positive that that's a correct assessment. Positive is maybe not the best word to use, but it's 40% sure on that prediction. So It's in the realm of both possibility and probability. Um, so it would be the week for it. Somebody asked about Putin, and I gave those predictions back, I think, in March of 2022. You'd have to go look on my TikTok. I don't have time to go find all that stuff. And I know I have a podcast episode from 2022 on that. Um, he has, according to the information I have, and I have reason to believe it's correct, he has a 3-degree Scorpio rising. Um, Pluto will be squaring off with that. It's not too wide an angle. So again, um, he's under pressure through 2020. I think 2025 is more of a year he's put out of commission. But he's embattled up until then. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I'm okay being wrong with a few things and right with a few things. I'm not here for all of it, but I am proud that I stuck to my guns on that prediction when it came to Trump being indicted by March of 2023. So it's certainly going to be riveting television. And people are going to be feisty. So just be careful out in public, guys. Just be careful. It's gonna be wild. It's gonna be woolly. It's not going to, like, people are gonna have like hair trigger tempers, both on and offline. And the thing of it is, before you have a reaction, before you get into it with anybody, I just want to remind you, that you can stop and take a breath. I can't count the times I'll write and delete a comment because I'm like, well, what's that actually doing for me? Is it really getting me where I want to go? Am I going to get a resolution, or am I just going for that immediate gratification? So I want to remind you all that we have the marshmallow test, and even as adults, we can pass it by like delaying some gratification. Um, People are so polarized right now. There's no convincing anybody of anything. So put your attention on what you can do for you. That's my biggest bit of advice. So that's kind of what I see for this week. I'm very concerned about March 25th. I'm almost more concerned about March 25th than I am the 23rd. I think we all expect that to be a shit show. The 25th with Mars moving into Cancer. It's in a direct trine with Saturn at that point, and oh my lord, I think we're going to see historic flooding. I think the propaganda machine, the oh, it's going to be nuts. The nationalism is just going to be, off the charts because Cancer rules nationalism. So it's a wild week, and just through the end of the month, there's just this. I told you, March 2023 was going to be its own part, its own thing, and it has lived up to expectations. And we may all look like we've been sandblasted by the end of it. By next Sunday, we will probably be another decade older. It's certainly going to be weird. Now, there's probably some good stuff coming as well. Okay. It's always easier to kind of see the bumpy bits, but one of the nice things with Mars trine Saturn is there could be some good music coming out. There could be some great arts. You could be fully inspired to throw some of your angst and just frustrations into art. Okay, of some kind, whether you're a crafter, an artist, a musician, a dancer, we should all be feeling like putting our energy into something that's maybe a little more beautiful than the rest of reality around us. And so what a week, what a week. Yeah, so why don't we talk about how to set our intentions with the new moon in Aries in the next segment, and then we'll do patron shout outs. Then you'll get to hear from the lovely Casey, right? And then I'll do some astrology Q&A with questions that the patrons at the Awake Space Astrology, or the Awake Space Patreon, have submitted. And if you are a patron and you haven't submitted a burning question, please do. We'll read it out here and answer it. I usually choose 2 per episode, so I enjoy reading them. All right. All right. Let's get to that new moon. Okay, we're gonna slide that over. All right, I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna look here. Let's see. Where is everybody? There's that. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, guys. It's gonna be wild. I tell you, I want to pull up. It's wild. Let's see if I can share this here. Go back to here. I think I can share my screen. I can. Let's see. I'm just going to show this to patrons here and YouTube. Okay. Can you guys see this? Let me see. I think. Yeah. So what you're seeing on screen, if you're watching on YouTube, is this is the time that the TikTok CEO is testifying. Okay, it's set for 11 a.m. on the 23rd. Check that 11th house out. Okay, it's very, very fascinating. And all that Aries is contained in an interception. That's like a bomb ticking. And I'm almost wondering if I mean it's very self-defensive, it's very argumentative, and I'm almost wondering if so many people show up on the live stream because it's being streamed and that they crash the server. And that's going to cause all kinds of conspiracy theories to go off. Like people are going to think that the server stopped because nobody wanted you to see it. But what people don't understand about the technology, especially when we're talking about the government, like the best and the brightest do not always do the tech. Okay. And so they may not have the capacity to handle the load of people that actually shows up. So make sure you're calling if this matters to you, if you don't, if it doesn't matter to you, don't call, but call your reps, call your senators, let people know how you feel about it. um there's it's a very, very active chart. It should be interesting to see what happens that day. But that's a hell of a lot of Aries. You've got the sun, you've got Pluto's already ingressed in Aquarius. It's contained in the home that it enjoys being in, which is the 8th house. I know everybody freaks out. Oh, Pluto's in the 8th house. I'm like, actually, Pluto in the 8th or the 12th is a pretty good place for it to be. It's contained there. Um, there's probably, this just shows me there's shenanigans going on behind the scenes. We've got Uranus in the 12th as well. There's hidden enemies that come out. But it could be in both directions. It could be the internet is the hidden enemy that people on that commission don't expect. And that would be more likely because it's in Taurus, and Taurus is a sign that deals with the populace. So that could be interesting. Or it could be, corporate interests dealing with the mighty force of the people who use things. What is we talked a little bit about this amongst ourselves. I think it was just Casey and me. Might have been the rest of the mods. I don't know. It's been a long week, but we were kind of like, it's forcing people to kind of get together and work on things. So I found that really interesting. Um, you've got the node pretty much conjunct Venus most of the week, believe it or not. So you can focus outside of yourself. You can focus outside of yourself, or you can, um, I'm gonna stop sharing. You can focus outside of yourself, or you can focus. You didn't see the chart, guys? Uh-oh, that didn't show up. Well, bummer. I thought I was sharing. Let's see if I try it again. Okay, screen sharing works best. Okay, should work. Share. Yeah, it should be showing up on the Melon app. But anyway, let's see. They're saying it didn't show, but that's okay. Well, bummer. Bummer. Maybe it'll show up in the recording. Who knows? It was supposed to show up. I don't know. I haven't tried that feature before. Live and learn. Live and learn. Let's see. Where was I going? It's gonna be a wild day. But you were imagining it? Oh good. I'll put it up in a post on Patreon. I'll get it up on a post. Because I'm gonna talk a little bit more about what I think is gonna happen to Trumpty Dumpty, but I'm gonna do it for patrons because again, I save the best for that. Because if I'm going to get trolled, I'm going to get paid. I'm not, I love it how people think their First Amendment right to share their opinion is greater than my right to not be trolled. So you want to exercise that, come at me in my Patreon and see what happens. But I ain't going to put it out for everybody to bug me. So I have no interest in that. I also don't think every opinion is valid either. So if it's not based on facts and it's delusional, I don't think so. When this goes live on YouTube, you know who's gonna be bugging me. Every time I put up anything, I get those fools. Like I care. Because honestly, their opinions are fart gas to me. But right. All right. Let's see. Where am I? Where's my thingy? There it is. Okay. Let's talk about the new moon. Talk about pleasant things. Talk about how to do it. I do want to take a look at the new moon chart. Did you guys like my new moon video on TikTok? The one with Pedro just chomping on the chips. That's kind of how I feel about it. By the way, the new moon will not be happening when you first wake up. Will not on the 21st. People always think, it'll either be that night or when you wake up. Nope, it can happen any time of day, and it happens about 2:30 p.m. Pacific-ish, maybe like 2:22, something like that. So let's see, March of... Again, for the whole episode that I did on the new moon, actually, I'm not going to pull the chart. I don't need the chart. I'm just going to talk about setting intentions. I think that's the better route, don't you guys? Because I didn't really talk about that yet. All right, let's do that. Okay. All right, there it is. Okay. All right, let's talk about that new moon in Aries happening on the 21st of March. Okay, so the equinox is on the 20th, and the new moon happens around 12:22 p.m. Pacific on March 21st. Remember, we have a phase for 3 days and some change. Okay, that's how long a moon phase lasts. If you're a patron, I have linked your access to that video, okay, on moon phases in the Crunch Report. Okay. And also, you will notice that we will not have a Crunch Report under 70 in any sign this week. And we will be going up to 90. Yeah, this is going to be some of the highest crunchy dunchy reports we've had in a while. But it doesn't mean it can't be good for you, and it doesn't mean it can't be productive. Those crunch reports are like a general astrological weather forecast, but you can have a great day. I say it every single time. So let's talk about how to set those intentions based on your astrological chart. So the new moon will be happening at 0 degrees, 49 minutes. So you want to know where that is in your chart. Remember, as a patron, and I know many of you listening are patrons. If you're not, I don't know what to do, If you're not, I can't help you, but the patrons have a walkthrough that show them how to find the degrees in their chart. Okay. So 0 degrees, 49 minutes of Aries, you'll find that somewhere in your chart. Okay. Depending on the house it falls in, you can set intentions around that area of life for things to be more facilitated. All right. I like to go with the assumption that the seeds we plant, the intentions we set during a new moon, are often fulfilled by the full moon of the same sign, which takes about 6 months. Okay. I know everybody wants it in 2 weeks, and it can happen that way. But the big stuff tends to take time to mature. Okay. Think about plants. Okay. You don't get sunflowers 2 days after you plant them. All right. You don't get pumpkins 2 days after you put the seed in the ground. So intentions are seeds, and we plant them on new moons. Talked a little bit about that in that video on the moon phases. So a new moon is when we set intentions. All right. Aries, it is going to be about self-understanding, self-knowledge, self-perception. Um, And if it's in the first house, it'll be about self presentation, how you put yourself out there. That could be about confidence. Okay. That could be, you could set it around your confidence, your appearance. This is a good one if you're looking at wanting a makeover. That may seem superficial, but it's not. It might be setting intentions about how you talk to yourself and how you see yourself. It's your self perceptions. It's your I am nature. Okay. And it could be maybe, in fact, I would highly suggest being, looking at like not needing to be so self defensive, but maybe self assertive. Okay. In ways that are more productive for you. Um, yeah. How you see yourself shapes how you put yourself out in the world. So that would be some great intentions. All right. If it's the second house, you're looking at how you view your self worth, your income strategies, and those are tied. If you don't think you're worth anything, you're not going to advocate for better resource stocking. Okay. You might be looking for financial security or sustainability. Those are good places. But, don't set an intention that's like, I want to be a billionaire and expect that to happen in 6 months if you're having trouble paying your rent. You know, that's a good way to be self-defeating. Okay. Your subconscious is not going to buy into that, my friends. So you want to set an intention more like I'm open to new ways of finding sustainable employment. I'm open to receiving income in different ways. I celebrate what I'm doing already. Okay. Instead of putting yourself down for where you're at, maybe celebrating where you're at, even if it's not where you want to be just yet. Stop beating yourself up. We've got incredibly interesting financial conditions. So stop blaming yourself. Okay. I'm worthy regardless of how my income is reflecting things. Okay. I know I'm worthy. I know I'm priceless. I'm not attaching my value to the work I do in the world. I'm attaching my value to my inherent pricelessness. That would be a good one for the second house. That'll open you up a little bit. Um, Third house. Yeah, that's about finding, I'm committed to using my voice in ways that gets me closer to my goals. It just depends on how your third house is activated, but that's communications, That's maybe you need a new car, maybe you need a new phone, maybe you need a new computer. Those are things you can put down. I find the transportation I need with ease and grace. I find the communication tools I need with ease and grace. Those are good intentions to set if that Aries new moon is falling in your third house. If the Aries new moon is falling in your fourth house, it could be, I am committed to um, I'm committed to having a living space that meets my needs for stability. I'm committed to transforming the space I live into a space I'm comfortable in. I'm committed to finding, I think finding a new place or refurbishing the place you have to fit your style. That's a my style. That would be an Aries thing to say. Um, or, maybe you just want to set your room up differently, you know. But think about it. It could be family stuff, and it could be I am committing to healing from my childhood trauma in ways that don't require my family to change, because that'll take you for fucking ever. If you think that you can get them to change and that's going to make your life better, good luck with that. If your healing requires on the action of other people, you're going to be healing for a really, really long time. So just committing to your own healing from your childhood would be good. And realizing that you may not be able to get that from other people. So that may be a little sensitive while the moon is in its balsamic phase. It's okay to have a cry over it. Okay. Remember, Aries energy is really sensitive. Nobody ever talks about that, but Aries energy is really sensitive. It's some of my favorite energy. There's a naivete, there's an innocence. It's fresh, it's new. And so one of the reasons why Aries can be so damn self-defensive is it's a thin skin. And I don't say that in a mean way. It's tender. It's tender. It's tender new shoots. It's spring. So it's okay if you feel a little raw before that new moon. If the new moon's falling in your fifth house, then this could be about creative self-expression. This could be about having more fun, taking more risk, caring less about what other people think about what you do, and caring more about your performance, and allowing yourself. This is the dance like no one is watching energy, so put your and it's better to write what you do want versus you don't. So if you're setting intentions and you're like, um, I set the intention that I don't care what other people think. Well, you just now gave other people a lot more power. So it'd be like, my intention is to perform or to take action or do things that satisfy me. As long as I'm satisfied with what I'm doing, I'm happy. Okay. That's a really good Aries in the fifth house. If I'm satisfied with it, that's enough. If I'm having fun doing it, that's another one. I intend to do things that make me feel fulfilled and joyful. Because that fifth house is where your inner child resides, You can parent lots of things, including yourself. So you could set some reparenting intentions with that Aries new moon in the fifth. Sixth house. It's a great one for setting your intentions around your work schedule, your fitness schedule. Maybe the weather's just been sucky over the winter and you haven't been as active as you like to be. So you could set some fitness goals. You could set some work schedule goals. If you are not happy in your job, this is a great one to set intentions for finding better employment, and being open. And again, instead of going, well, I don't want to work in a toxic environment anymore, is not a good intention, guys. It's just not. It's not a good intention. You want to set your intention for working somewhere you do want to be. Working somewhere you do want to be is going to be the better. So what does the team look like? What are you doing? How are you doing it? So yeah, that's setting those intentions for the Aries new moon in the sixth house. Also, your health, again, fitness goals. But, if you've been having headaches, maybe setting the intention to get it checked out. Could just be stress, could could be barometric pressure if you're living on the West Coast. Um, Seventh house, you're looking at how you commit your energy to other people. Okay. So any of your agreements with clients, business partners, best friends, um, platonic life partners of all kinds, including marriage partners and spouses, but it could be a committed roommate that you don't have a romantic relationship with. So you want to remember, if it's not fair to you, it's not fair to everybody. If you've been losing yourself in the relationship, this might be like, I set the intention that I can be in a relationship that's mutually beneficial, where my energy is equally fed as it is exhausted. I wouldn't say the exhausted part though, but where my energy is fed in equal measure to the energy I give out. That's a much better way to say that. Eighth house. If you have Aries, 0 degrees, 49 minutes in the eighth house, then this is about transformation and personal transformation, and recognizing that really only I can transform my life in the way I need it to change. I am the alchemist of my life. I can allow support in without losing myself or owing. Asking for help um, can be does not see. I'm trying to say this in a way that isn't on the negative, because what I was thinking was asking for help doesn't leave me indebted, but that's not really the the way I'd phrase that to be the most useful. Um, my balance sheet is clear when I ask for support. I think that's a better way to say that. Notice the energy change in that. You can play around with language. You could also be solving a family mystery. You could be doing some genealogy. You could, I don't know. You could be doing a bunch of things. You'd be doing a research project. I know we've got grad students listening to the podcast. So, it's like my research, shows up all the things I've been looking for. That's a good eighth house subject. Ninth house, expanding experiences. This is, higher education, travel. It's also production and marketing. So depending on your focus. So it's not always people going on, long vacays or going off to grad school, those types of things. It could be, depends on your personal situation. But this is where I'm open to new experiences that broaden my horizons. Okay. And if you've had some interesting adventures and you kind of want to be a little safer with it, you want to broaden my horizons in ways that enrich my life and make it more rewarding. If you're marketing, this is the time. I intend to have my messaging all in a row and all of the systems in place to launch X product. That works. If you're producing a book or a class, don't go to sleep. Don't go to sleep. I'm back. I'm back. Hang on a second. They've lost me. There we are. Yeah. So yeah. So there's that. And then we've got hang on a sec. I gotta bring this back. Um Ninth house. Yeah, production of all kinds, theater, publishing, marketing, all of that fun stuff. 10th house is your avocation. I know everybody goes, it's career. I've argued against this for a long time. Robert Hand calls it the avocation. And if the Dumbledore of astrology says so, I think that's pretty good. And I agree, because the 10th house is our reputation in the world. It's not something we honestly get to control too much of. It's what people see in us, and we may take it for granted. It may be very difficult for us to see. It's kind of like our superpower, but we're just so damn good at it that people don't notice. So unless you have the sun or the moon or Mercury right on that midhaven, it can be hard to know. Okay. And so the 10th house is our avocation. Our day job is the 6th house. How we make our money is the 6th house. We'll see a promotion in the 10th. We'll see a promotion in the 10th because your reputation is being elevated, right? So this could be around how you want to show up to other people. Again, we don't get a whole lot of control in that, but it could also be what you want to do in the world. So how you want to be how you want to be moving about the world and where you want your passions to go, where you want your authority to lie. So if the new moon is happening in your 10th house, this will have to do with that. So you could say, I want to be in my passion uncompromised. I want to jump into what I love doing and making a difference with both feet into the deep end. Although that's pretty wild, but it would be a very Aries 10th house thing to do. People can hear what I'm saying. My words make an impact. My actions make an impact. Whatever I do has influence. That's a really good Aries in the 10th house. If you want a promotion or you want a new gig, you could do that for either the 6th or the 10th house as well. The 11th house is your hopes, dreams, inspiration. So if you want to be more inspired, it's also your professional networks and your community. And so you could set intentions around that, but it'd be more about who you're meeting. Like, I want a good mentor. I want to find a group of people who are like-hearted, who have the same drive to make things better. Um, I want to refresh my professional network. I'm looking for collaborators who are like-minded, like-hearted, and share the same values. I'm interested in leading a team of interesting people who know how to, move in line together. Those would all be good. You can intend for your community, but good luck. That's a whole lot of free will to wrangle. The 12th house is connected to your spiritual connection. It's also where your dreams go to incubate before they're birthed through the world and through your first house. So you could set intentions on finding inner peace. And I intend to have my peace be always within reach. That would be a good one. I trust my intuition. That's another good intention. I'm open to the guidance of my higher self and open to the signs and understanding what they are. I intend to understand the signs my higher self or guides are sending me. Let's see. I trust myself. I can soothe myself. Those are all good intentions for the 12th house. All right. I hope that helped. So, obviously we're riffing on it. If you've got questions about intentions and you're a patron, you can always come into the Discord and ask. Go ahead and tag me. I'll be glad to answer. But, you don't have to make a huge production out of it. You can be thoughtful about it. But honestly, what I do, I just write them down in a journal I have. And I literally just scribble them down and then I leave them. And then I come back and I'm like, oh, wow, half of these things happen like that, But usually for the big stuff, it takes about 6 months. So don't think you're doing it wrong if it takes a hot minute. All right. I think we're going to do patron shout outs. What about you? Okay, move that over. There we go. I'm going to edit this while I'm here. So I remember what is what, because I label my segments for the podcast. So I'm just... What a crazy time we're in, guys. What a crazy time we are in. Let's see. I talked about... okay. Come on. No, it won't let me change that. Bummer. Okay, let me come back. I'll look at everybody's posts. Hello. Right. You can listen to the rest on the podcast. Thank you so much. You're welcome, guys. Thank you, Allison. Um, you like the YouTube podcast? I love that, Rita. That's great. Thanks for letting me know. That's great. I'm glad. Let's see what else do I got up here. But yeah, the same sound when you muted yourself. That's so funny. Casey's Casey's funny. Casey's funny. So I know my glasses are all askew here up on the top of my head, but but yeah. No, I enjoy this. I wish I would have done it earlier. Thank you, Sue. I'm glad you're enjoying this. Yeah. Our Zoom meeting. Is this a personal reading, Tina? We've got yeah. We've got coffee with Lori at the end of the month. That's for patrons. Talk. Yeah. So but yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do in April when I'm off for a week. I think I'll still make content. I'm going to be going to the San Diego Zoo with my mom and my dad. So my mom's never been. So I've never been either. So we're gonna go see the zoo. That should be fun. My mom's a Gemini, my dad's a Leo. They're a lot of fun. They are very gregarious people. I am not. So, but yeah. Oh, wonderful. I'm excited. Oh, that's great. That's great. Cool. Love it. Yep, there's a lot that happens in those readings. So I look forward to it. Well, you don't want to find out where your moon is, Rita Meslin. You want to find out where Aries is. So as a patron, you can access, if you go to the Crunch Report, I did a chart walkthrough. Oh, hey, Share Bear. You fell asleep. That's okay. How is my dad's health? Thank you for remembering, Laura. Yeah, because you remember 2021. He almost keeled over on us. It's okay. Um, he's kicking. He can't do all the things he used to do because sadly, if you guys remember when I went to Wyoming and then Montana, because he was hospitalized up there, I was fighting like hell to get his pain managed because his blood pressure shot up so high. He was at risk of stroke, and he did. Yeah. Um, so if you go to the Patreon post, it's just there's a link in there for the video. So let me see if I can find it. Because it's just a little, I'm going to make another video walkthrough too that's a little easier to understand because the three-part one is maybe a little more difficult. Let's see. The quick reference chart walkthrough shows the ascendant rising sign. And then there's the 3-point. You know what, Rita? I think what I'm going to do, I'll get the new walkthrough done. Okay. That's on my list. It's all written. I just have to record it. And then it's very visual. It's less talky, because the one I have, the 3-parter that's up for you guys, I recorded that like December of 2020. And it was like a little freebie workshop I did with a bunch of people. So, yeah. Why don't you wait, Tina, on the new moon intent on the outer side of Aries? I'll do a walkthrough. I'll do the chart walkthrough tonight and get that up for you guys to watch. So that'll help you identify where in the house you want to see it because, yeah. No, it's not more work. It's fine. I already have it done. And I know people need this. And my other one was I kind of fire hosed. So that was like 3 years ago, and I had people of lots of different levels in, and it was just kind of a thing. So, yeah, I don't mind doing that. That'll help you guys, because it's kinda hard to see where things are, you know? And so that's why I suggest using astro.com, especially if you're a beginner, because those charts are so much easier to read. So that's why I use them in the examples, and I don't really use my Solar Fire software because to show you guys, because it's just it's a professional software. We don't need everything spelled out. But and I still use astro.com. Like, it's on my I access it on the phone all the time because it's just visually very, very clear, right? It's visually very, very clear. So let's see. Let's take a look here. Let me get into patron shout outs. Oh, my phone. I'm going to record the patron shout outs later because it's easier for me to read them off my phone than trying to scroll through like another tab. So that was that. So then, I've got the Casey interview under wraps. That part's good. Mhm. I'll do the patron shout outs separately. Let's see. Let's see. This was New Moon Intentions. Let's see. I'm going to save that really quick. Come on. Come on, computer. Let's do this. Edit your audio. There we go. Okay. I've got the interview with Casey. Just a reminder to patrons, your $100 off readings coupon is good through the 23rd. The 23rd. So that is a good thing. Let's see, what else do I have to do on this episode? I've got the astrology Q&A. Let's do that. Let's do the astrology Q&A. Let's see. If you guys haven't submitted a question, I think that's still linked up in the Crunch report. So oh, this is a good question. Okay. I will get that recording going. All right, it's time for some astrology Q&A from our patrons. I really love that. You guys are asking such good questions. And this first one is from June. So let's see. How are mundane astrologers able to predict things like earthquakes or floods? What are the sorts of things in the chart that indicate that to those who know how to calculate them? And how long did it take you to be able to see things like that with confidence? Well, mundane astrologers study mundane astrology, and that means we not only do we have the rules of astrology, and mundane astrology is older than natal astrology. It's the original form of astrology. Just because people didn't really do a whole lot of dissecting of personalities. They grouped people into boxes before we started, you know, investigating psychology. And it's always so tempting, isn't it? I mean, we still do it, right? But a mundane astrology was the first because people noticed things started, happened with various lunations. Eclipses were the big one. And that's something that mundane astrologers started studying from Chaldea, from Babylon and beyond. And there's a lot of things. There's rulerships, there's, declinations, there's all sorts of things you have to study. And so knowing what the many different meanings for each sign and each planet. And then one of the things we do is we look back at the past. So if I'm predicting the future, even though the past doesn't always repeat, I'm looking at charts for events that happened a long time ago and stepping back from trying to make it fit. I think that's the worst thing I see people doing is trying to make the astrology fit their preconceived ideas. Like right now, we have a lot of people trying to equate Pluto and Aquarius with the French Revolution. And no, 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 no. Pluto wasn't even in our consciousness yet. It was super subconscious. Um, However, Uranus was discovered 2 years before the French Revolution started. It was in the sign of Leo when the French Revolution did start, and Saturn was in Pisces. There was a dissolving of government. Okay. You know, there's just too much trying to make it fit. So a good mundane astrologer kind of takes a step back and looks at multiple events, not just one. So if I hear a date like the last time we had a mega flood in California was like 1937, and before that there was a bigger one in 1857, and I'm like, wait a minute, there's some similar things going on. Let's take a look, and so I'll look at those signatures in those charts. Um, what sorts of things in a chart that indicate to those again, it'll be more than just like one planet. One planet indicates nothing, you know. We know with Uranus and Taurus, it is more likely to have larger earthquakes, but large earthquakes can happen when Uranus is in any sign. It's just an indication of shaking Earth, literally. Uranus shakes, Taurus is Earth. Okay, so that's kind of a no brainer, but that's not the only time you have large earthquakes. It's been aspects to Uranus and other planetary action. So it's very complicated. It's like driving an 18 wheeler. It's not just your regular, 5-speed manual gear car. How long did it take me to be able to see things like that with confidence? Well, I don't really see things. It's I think using the word see is kind of misleading because it makes it kind of sound kind of psychic. But how was I able to predict things? I was a political analyst before I was an astrologer, so I was already used to kind of stepping back and looking at things in 5-year projections and very focused on kind of stepping back from my own bias. So yeah, when I talk about Trump, my bias is really strong, but when I'm looking at the astrology, um, I'm not doing that. I'll chuckle over misfortune because it's funny to me, but I'm not going to try to make it fit. I'm not going to try to find consequences where I don't see any either. That's why, like I've talked about, maybe him not being in jail. But I think that may be issues with health more than him getting off. I see him being found guilty. I just don't know that he's got the longevity for it. Um, you know, just like I predicted him becoming president in 2016, whether I liked it or not. And I took a lot of hate for that from people who were liberal or progressive. I wasn't trying to get anybody to vote for him. I saw a populist winning, and Hillary was not a populist, and Bernie had lost the nomination. And so, hello, he had the transits, and that's what I saw. So, you have to be able to suspend your personal beliefs to be accurate. And then to be confident, like with earthquakes, I'm never confident with an earthquake prediction. Earthquakes are extremely difficult to predict. Floods are a little easier. Earthquakes are like geologists can't predict them. So I'm usually running at tops 80% sure. At tops, I'm never 100% sure on an earthquake prediction. I'll be 80% sure just because they're so damn hard to predict and regions are hard. I've gotten pretty good at that. But I would say it probably took me 20 years of study before I felt confident making a public prediction. I was very gun shy to make public predictions. Um, and also, when I was becoming an astrologer, being a mundane astrologer was just not done. The professional world really discouraged mundane astrology. Like Ray Merriman was one of the few who just said "fuck you" to the established astrologers because they were like, we're not fortune tellers, this is, we're going to make it like psychology. And I was like, well, why can't you do both? Why can't we look at mundane astrology and psychological astrology and do both? So it just wasn't done. You just didn't talk about it. You risked, being very much disparaged, because people wanted to take it into the ethers and disembody it. And I don't see the point of that. We live on planet Earth, and I don't believe we're here to get off it. I believe we're here for a reason. And we're here for the time that we live in. So long response, but thank you for the question. That was cool to answer. Let me see what's up next. Let me see what's up next here. Mhm. Let's see. Oh, wow, this is a cool question. This is from Heather. This is from Heather. How do you tell the difference between being conditioned to do something and actually wanting to do something? I know this is not technically astrologically related or astrology related, but I do know social conditioning is something you talk about a lot. At least for me personally, this frustrates me a lot because everyone always tells me I'm socially conditioned to want certain things and slams what I want, but I feel it in my heart. I genuinely want these things. Wow, that is a powerful, powerful question, Heather. And it is astrologically related, believe it or not, because your social cultural conditioning directly affects how the astrology in your chart expresses. Okay. So that's why I say because I like to progress the narrative. I like to use more thoughtful, evolutionary, moving us forward kind of interpretations when it comes to personal astrology. And I'm less favored to the traditional, very binary approach of classical interpretation. And so if someone is extremely conditioned and they don't believe you have any social movement, that you should stay in your place, my daddy did it, my daddy's daddy did it, my daddy's daddy did it, you know, well, then you're going to use a more classical approach because they don't feel they have any agency and they're going to operate in a couple of different ways. Whereas if somebody's like, yeah, my daddy did it, my daddy's daddy did it, my daddy's daddy's daddy did it, doesn't mean I have to do it too. Then we can move it forward. How do you know? Well, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes it takes a transit, like a Pluto transit, to take that kind of stuff away because social conditioning can be really tricky, you know. But it's up to nobody but you to deconstruct your conditioning. It's nobody else's business what you want and what you want for yourself. Okay. That's for you to decide. Nobody can look at you like it's not their business if you're socially conditioned. If everybody minded their own business, because they're people want to protolize and they want to or proselytize and people want to preach and evangelize, especially if they've left traditional spaces like churches or belief systems or cults or even political parties, and they want to bring everybody to the truth, the light, and the way, right? And as long as it's their truth and everybody else believes the same way as them, everything's okay. And the matter is that when you really start deconstructing, you kind of know it doesn't really matter as long as it's not hurtful, truly hurtful to somebody else, what somebody else wants to do. So if it's something like you do know you want to get married and have kids and have the picket fence, that may be indeed very natural to you. Likewise, it could be the same for somebody who doesn't want
to have those things, be very normal and natural. Some people might be raised to be career people or go to university. But in their heart of hearts, they just really kind of want to stay at home and garden and raise kids and play in mud puddles, and bake pies, and they're happy with that. That isn't necessarily, so sometimes it'll be the opposite of what you think. And when you say you feel it in your heart, that you're really close to being on the money. You'll feel it in your body. If something enlivens you physically, like it's an energetic spark, then that's a calling. That I know it sounds crazy, but I think I'm going to be an astrologer who does stuff on YouTube and TikTok. When you were raised to like be an executive. Yeah. So sometimes it takes a transit that kind of rips away the things you were told to want as a kid growing up. Or, in my experience, it was a big Pluto transit through my first house. And a lot of, like, I thought I was, all that. I was very young. I was in my early 20s when it happened. And everything that I thought I was supposed to do, I'd checked off all the boxes. I'd had successes that my family were very proud of, but I had still been operating under the things I was told were important and had not had time to really assess myself and my own desires and what I wanted in life. I didn't have the perspective. Even though I'd traveled a lot and, I'd seen a lot of the world, I'd done a lot of things, and those things that enlivened me were really, really cool. That was stuff I wanted to do, like the travel. My parents didn't want me to do that for obvious reasons. It wasn't always safe. But that lit me up. But at the same time, some of the ways I got there, like having a corporate job, I don't know, it just wasn't that challenging, and I wasn't all that excited about it, and yeah, it made my dad proud, and he had my contract framed and up on the wall. Um, and yeah, I wanted to make my dad proud, and my mom proud, but that didn't make me happy. So these were all things that happened that helped me unpack and deconstruct and start asking some of the big questions, because I was like, well, I've done everything they said I was supposed to do. Now what? Because I don't feel happy. My marriage wasn't working out, and I felt that was, like, in part to me just not being good at being what people thought a woman should be good at. I was much more comfortable working, outside the home than inside the home. Um, you know, it's a skill. I also wanted to be more determinate, and so the idea of having to be submissive in any way didn't go down very well because that's not who I am. And so I thought there was maybe something wrong with me because of that social conditioning. I think sometimes when we think there's something wrong with us because society says, right? Well, that's a good way to know. But yeah, if something lights you up and you think that's cool and you can really feel it deep within, it's not like a surface level sugar high. I think that's one way you can know. But we're not really here to get life right. We're here to just live it, and I think you unfold and expand and grow a lot as you get older. So that's a really good question. So um and I don't think it's ever too late to expand our understanding of self. I don't think you can ever be too old to expand. I think we're done when we're done. Like when our body is done and our sun is extinguished because it's the spark of life, then we're kind of done exploring those concepts. But other than that, it's trial and error. That's how you know. But I wouldn't let other people discourage you from wanting what you want. Maybe sometimes we have to go through those cultural normative experiences to find out whether it's for us or not. There's nothing wrong with that either. I don't regret getting married. I don't regret having tried those things. I don't regret the gritty, ugly part of it. Now that I'm many years past it, it wasn't fun to go through at the time, but I see very much where I am because of those things, if that makes sense. That's a big question. And if you can come to Coffee with Lori, that would be kind of a fun one to discuss the last Sunday of the month in the Discord. Wow, great questions. So, thank you all so much for listening. Hold tight if you're a patron. We'll have a little bunker. We've got some games we can play in the Discord, and you can play them on your phone now. Um, we may have some game time to just blow off steam. There's some fun word games and some fun, you know, card games, things like that. I highly suggest doing some intentional dissociation this week if you want to make it through. As always, it's a pleasure. I'm Lori Rivers. Thank you for listening to the Awake Space Astrology Podcast. Okay, there's that part of the episode done. Do, do, do. Okay, letting that process. Oh my gosh. Aw, I love that, Ben. Whenever you're answering questions like this, I visualize the simplest of things that resonate with what you're talking about and having a podcast as a background track. I love that. That's great. So, yeah. Right? Cancer. Right. So there we go. There we go. Yeah. So, oh wow, I've been recording for 1 hour, 22 minutes, and it was 11 seconds when I caught it. Uh, so super cool. Super cool. It was a wild, wild episode. Love you too, Sethi. Just checking on the tiki-taki where I look much less tired. I like filters. I need filters, right? Right. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Um a natural. I appreciate that, Rita. Um there's a lot of training behind this. You're in bed trying to oh, thank you. I'm actually going to be starting a podcast where I read stories because so many people use my voice to go to sleep. So I'll be starting that soon. So I'm excited about that. Yeah, you've always envisioned that I'm just chatting with you, and I am. Exactly. Exactly. You love the affirmations. Thank you, Laura. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. Those are just starters. It's just an idea, but it gives you. Thank you. I was forced to take classical training from 13 to 18. I forced at 13 because um my voice teacher wouldn't let me do anything else, but I wanted to take voice lessons, but I just didn't want to be a classical singer. So, and one day my retirement plan is to be a comedy lounge singer. My Venus in Gemini needs to do that someday. So, right? Yes. I have the lounge act. In fact, I've performed in Reno in the bathroom at a conference because I was at this conference as a vendor. This was back in 2012, and my friend had to use the ladies, and I followed along, and then I sang from the powder room area, pretending to be the lounge singer from Mad TV. I don't know if you remember that character. And I mortified my friend because I sang her by name, and it was pretty funny. So I can be naughty. I can. I can be naughty. I can be very mischievous in the right circumstances. I am not all yeah. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, thank you, Iris. Thank you so much. Yeah, I've got some I'm looking forward to that. I'll be reading things that are no longer that are in public domain. So that's some of it. But yeah, Larry. Actually, I was a coloratura. I was a soprano coloratura. So, yeah. Yeah, he could be a tenor. But yeah, I can't do. I wish I could do Larry, but yeah, but yeah. Thank you, Becky. Oh, you're watching me on your TV. That's so weird. Somebody else watches like my videos that I put up on YouTube on the TV, and I'm like, maybe I should have been Maybe I should have been camera ready. Oops. It's really kind of a weird feeling. So I'm actually really shy. I know you guys wouldn't think that, but the only thing that couches the shyness is I had a lot of performance training as a kid and I learned how to get over it. But when I was a kid, I was so shy that if you talked to me and I wasn't ready for it, I would cry. I was so shy. So, and I'm still that shy. I'm still like, you're watching me on your television. Oh my God. And my eyes are down to here. I look old. But I don't want to do work. I don't want to get fillers and I don't want fucking Botox. Yeah, you're shocked, right? Nobody ever thinks I'm shy. I'm terribly shy. Uh, yeah, YouTube is on TV. Yeah. Oh, now you can set reminders. Just because somebody doesn't show it doesn't mean they aren't it. So, yeah. Yeah. Robin Williams was an introvert. He and I share the same birthday, believe it or not. Yep. No. No, just because somebody doesn't seem it doesn't mean they are it. So, oh, if I'm in your PJ, coming soon, the PJs will be there. I have my ratty sweatpants on right now. They are fully like where I've been working and eating and yeah, yeah. Me too. We have a difference in our chart. Obviously, he was older than me. Um, but we have a lot of similarities too. Very interesting. So, a friend of mine who sadly passed away in 2018, she worked at FAO Schwartz in San Francisco, and Robin Williams would come in just at closing, and they would just let him come in and lock the doors, and he'd go and play with the toys um, before he bought anything for his kids. And I always thought that was really cool. Really cool, that they did that, but he would just go and kind of satisfy his inner child, and he wasn't ever disruptive. He was very kind and very shy. So, but yeah. No, actually am shy. So, and then I haven't been making as much content as far as like the TikToks and stuff. Not because I think TikTok's going to be banned. I think there's a chance it won't be right away. And I talked about that in my last podcast, episode 12. Um, I just have Pluto opposite my Mercury and my Sun, and if you look, I honestly haven't made that much content except in fits and spurts since October of last year, since it started moving into that tight opposition. It's just I've been tired. You know, I'm doing a lot of readings. I'm trying to get. I have other projects happening in the background that I can't talk about just yet. Um, One in specific I can't talk about just yet, but it's going to be really cool. And it's a stretch business wise. Talk about taking risks. But I think it's probably the smartest decision I've made so far. We'll see if I'm right. But I did hire a booking agent to get me as a guest on other podcasts as well. And that's how I found out the Awake Space was in the top 5% of a podcast worldwide. Was actually hiring the booking agent. When do I sleep? I sleep. I do. I usually go to bed kind of late. Um, I go to bed kind of late and I wake up kind of late. I'm not an early morning person, although lately I've been having to get up a little bit earlier. So, but I've always been a night owl and I create best at night. That's why I do these things at night. Daytime, I'm not as creative for some reason, you know. So, just the way it is. Um, just a night owl. The world is quieter at night. energetically, just every other way, it's not as loud. So, yeah. But I do sleep. And I slept in today, but I did not sleep well the night before, and I just couldn't feel it. So partly too, the moon is in Pisces. Um, it's in my fourth house still, heading towards my fifth. Watch, I'll be a creative machine tomorrow. So tomorrow, well, I'm off most of the week. I took off because I'm going to be doing some recording, some video recording. So you're a night owl. Usually, just your work schedule doesn't allow you to stay up late. I hear that. I've been in that position. 2019 for some reason, and it was the perfect reason. I ended up working for a hardware company that made high-powered laptops for gaming and creating, and they hired me to do the North American marketing. And it was good because I had kind of put my business coaching to bed because I was a little tired. I was just life had been I had upended my life a couple years before, and if I hadn't done that, like everything would have dried up when the lockdowns happened. So I had the perfect opportunity to have a regular 9 to 5 that I hadn't had in like 20 years because I've worked for myself, you know, that long. And remember why I didn't like the corporate world. If I have a LinkedIn, and it's really funny because like 3 posts down, I was like, "Fuck the corporate world. I'm never going back. You can't make me." Um, so, but yeah, but yeah. Oh goodness, that's a lot. That's a lot, Tina. Yeah, washing walls and painting work off the winter cookies. Oh my gosh, yeah. I know. I need to take walks. It's just been too rainy. I too have the winter cookies that needs to be worked off, but yeah. Yeah, if and it was funny because once we had lockdowns, then and I was at work, they forgot about me. They completely forgot I existed. I would show up for meetings and, like but all of my work assignments started getting assigned out. I'm like, "Are they gonna fire me? What the hell is going on?" It was just really weird. And so, and then also my alimony was gonna end, and I remember the day I was sitting there, it was like spring of 2020, and I was like, "When does my alimony go away?" It wasn't very much, to be honest. He got off easy. I was really nice. But when does it go away? And I was like, ran, looked at my paperwork, and it's like, "Oh shit, it goes away in December. I should do something about that." And I put up my blog, the wokeastrology.com blog, and then I started posting on Reddit. And I was doing great on Reddit. I was getting a lot of clients off Reddit. I only came onto TikTok because they wanted to ban it. And so I find it really interesting. Here we are 3 years later, and they're using the same verbiage, almost verbatim, that they used back in 2020, which in October of 2020, I joined TikTok just out of protest. That's it. I didn't ever intend on building an audience here. I was doing great on Reddit writing. So, yeah. Oh, Tina, I'm so glad to know you. There you go. Yeah. But yeah. So, alrighty. Well, I think I'm going to close out here. I'll stay on TikTok for a heartbeat and then I will record the rest of the podcast. You guys will be able to listen to it early hours of the morning of the 20th, just in time for the equinox. May the force be with you. Channel your inner Yoda as much as possible this week, my friends. It's not a time to get into it. Much love. Thank you so much. Appreciate you all. Thank you, patrons. Without you, there is no me, and your support is very much appreciated. Always. Thank you.